Simon. And this video is to share with everyone. Some essence of random markdown. And, this video might be a bit dry. There will be some comparisons. Optimizing some of the rendering skills are involved. And, let's first take a look at the overall performance. And you definitely need to pay attention to every frame of the entire rendering. Its performance. For example, tables. Links. Image, or like those. Strong emphasis or italicized text. You want to look at the details or see that, mathematical formulas. For these aspects, let's refresh the rendering. Let us see the markdown-related content. The rendering related to that code block. Okay, we are almost there, and one point we must pay attention to is that when we are currently rendering, the selected part is always maintained. This indicates the performance point that our current redraw. There are a few points in this video that will be relatively dry, including markdown rendering. We are not markdown, our code block rendering. You can see we can select the updated part of the code block. You can see the update below. The selection above will not be lost. This indicates that our updates are all incremental. Instead of fully updating the entire code block of vue-HTML. Then we will discuss later that this technique only applying to the code block updates can be employed for all on the market. A point that Markdown cannot achieve. This performance optimization. I will tell you later why I say this, that all the chat box Markdown rendering in the market is stream rendering. Rendering still can't achieve the performance of this. And we will explain it in the later videos. Then we look at all of our updates. You can hardly see any very abrupt performance. Including the update of this math formula. You won't see some, for example, the performance of error states and the like. Moreover, the support from the contract company is particularly good, including this shaking. In fact, they are the least. You can see that it has a relatively good loading time to support rendering the entire math formula. Okay, we have seen this part. And then, let me talk about a few points that will be relatively dry in this episode of the video. Because its current rendering performance is the best among all. It should not have achieved such a high quality detail. We can discuss an aspect from all angles, let's say the parsing of the link tag. I have created a traditional markdown rendering demo. Let's compare. Look at this link. It will carry that link afterward, including the rendering of this image. Okay. Let's refresh again. Look at this link. You can see it brings the links at the backup, including this markdown, including this. This is that icon rendering. Let's take a look at this table. Let's wait a moment. Let's rerun that table again. You can see it. Just now that figure, the asterisk in front of the figure, including the table. Did you see that vertical bars and horizontal lines were not optimized? However, in our optimization of this thing, many chat boxes have not done this optimization. Including, you can see the rendering of this legacy mathematical formula. It is actually in the middle. It will also report errors. He outputs the error. This can actually be optimized away. But you will also find the phenomenon of shaking. This example actually features the characteristics that almost all markdown on the market will have. It is said that it uses VH for wonderful rendering. You can see that we are currently copying. Can't you see our selection? Selection dynamics loss. Because our entire markdown. It redraws the entire VHNL area, including the position of your scroll bar. There might be some deviations or problems. Moreover, this performance is extremely poor. You can see that our entire page is basically almost stuck, because the current CPU usage is definitely explosive. Let's turn this off. And then, let's take our reactor, the hottest streaming renderer on the market. It seems to be called AI. It is a stream-based rendering encapsulated using stream down at the bottom layer. Let's search for stream down. It should be an official website. Let's say OK. This is a manifestation of stream down. You can see that it has actually reduced the rendering speed. But you can still feel that its rendering is very unsmooth. Very unsmooth. It doesn't have the smoothness we have. Theoretically, it seems that during the update, this selection might also be lost. Selection seems to be a selection issue. You see it, just look. It isn't rendering this part. The original intention of code. Your copy is invalid. So it is also unable to achieve local updates of the clickable parts. It is also a complete VHTV replacement. So I will tell you that the performance of all markdown renderers on the market will never reach the level of performance of this tool I made. I'll leave my words here, okay? It's because of its underlying structure. It is a full update of VHTML. As the size of this code gets larger, their performance will get worse. Then I have done a performance test. Our current rendering is 100 times more powerful than the stream down inverse cell. Alright. This specific performance. We can look at the overall CPU. How many nodes are updated and released? Our hierarchy will be 100 times less than them. 100 times less in degree. Including, the fluency of rendering and some transitions. Our component support is much greater than it. And, I will. If you did not see this side in the previous video, you might miss some very interesting knowledge. That is to say, why can Markdown perform so well? Because, actually, handling Markdown can be a bit tricky. It may involve a character between the previous node and the next node. The issue of parsing this might come from the explanation problem of Markdown yet. It hasn't been handled particularly well. It might be that your previous second was one. Let me explain it like this. We take this. For example, you might explain that a heart may be in various cases, and just a cross heart may be in italic. And when you have stars and crosses, it is a strong node. So when you don't know if it is strong or italic, you should not render. Instead, continue to match later and skip the star. This way, you won't see this intermediate state and just see the actual parts flying. The flying part. This way you can know whether it's double star, single star, or triple star. This can determine what the actual rendering node's template is. This is just a little point. There are many. During this stream rendering, you have to pre-process everything. After the markdown is parsed, you still need to correct some things to pre-parse. Make it, correctly identifying its true type for rendering. You can skip many intermediate states. I don't know if you all fully understand what I mean. For example, I might be a cross. Here, when there's a new fork, it involves very complex logic. It might be displayed at this point, and matching will also have issues. Then you need to there will be a break-soft intermediate state inside. This is when you really use Markdown to render, you will know that there are some tokens in it. Some types of tokens and intermediate states may occur when this tag is parsed halfway. In this case, you need to manually correct this token, and this code will be reflected in my source code. You can be interested to check it out. Yes, one aspect is to correct this. You can ensure it's node rendering. On the other hand, once you confirm this node, you just need to update the test, equivalent to your thing being it is type fixed. Only updating the test content inside. This way you will feel the entire rendering is very smooth, without some shaking, because the height. The positions of these elements are basically fixed. And there are many small details to optimize. That is to say, when I was in an intermediate state, I had a loading transition. Then, if there is an even finer point, that is to say, when it is a math block, it is when it is displayed centered. At this time, the state before the math block is maybe a math block. The release of the node configuration of the paragraph. You need to consider that its initial start might be, for example, $, or a slash with a bracket. This might just be a node of maybe a math block. The rendering power at this point should be to center the display of the content of the p tag. In this way, later when converted, it is also centered. In this way, your overall transition will feel less abrupt. Because you may be on the left side from the p node, and then suddenly in the middle. There will be a left side middle projection. It feels less smooth. There might be a lot of small rendering tricks involved. Then, in addition to this code block theme. Because it uses Shaky, it supports all of its strengths. Its advantage lies in multiple themes including an incremental update. It is now the update of vue-HTML, and including Monaco's built-in powerful capabilities, some of its the code type. A variable toggle reference jump of its type square and some stuff. The capability of these things is far stronger than Markdown. Including its performance is better than Markdown rendering. And including some rendering layer parsing and rendering within us. Let's go again. Let you all. Then you can try again. Let's quickly go through this. You can see our performance. Including link elements. We have done a horizontal line transition at the underlying layer, then converted into a link. Including Markdown, actually you are in the middle, just directly. It is all a th node of a table to render. Take a look at this table. Focus on the rendering of this table. Did you see the loading transition of the T body at the bottom? Then let's go back to the original Markdown processing. Pay attention to this table. Did you see? There will be a vertical line in the second row. Just vertical. The intermediate state of the star. And I can tell you a little bit. For example, you think, the performance of a certain streaming selection is very good. You just see the rendering of its code block in its intermediate state. During the stream update, can you double-click to select this? If your selected state is cancelled, it is vue-HTML. You can also select all values in the entire code block, so this will make its performance relatively poor. Okay, I have made myself very clear. It is unable to achieve our incremental updates. Can be. Then we said that this crying heart bullet can be deeply integrated into deep chat. Then you can also use in your AI, integrate into chatbots. It is, the current design dependencies might be relatively heavy, because I consider that the user may have their own preferences. For example, it's stream-based rendering. It does not require complex Monaco or Shaky. It just hopes to select purely Markdown pre-code or it doesn't perform rendering for the code part at all. It only renders the P nodes. The LY node doesn't have such a complicated code. Also, it does not have Mermaid. In this way, you won't need to install those Mermaid dependencies. Its package will be much smaller. because this is all about some option selections. Of course, now this vue-18n might not be needed later. We might provide a simpler way to handle it in the latest dependencies if you have multilingual needs. You can install this i10.8n. It is all based on the nature of your project to use as needed. Is that okay? Then I have also written the document timing very detailed. You can use. Can create Chinese documents. As long as you provide the content that has been lost to it, it can render. Of course, you can also say that your content may have some internal logic processing. You can call one inside it. Pass markdown to structure means it can convert content. Forming an array structure. Then render through nodes. Of course, the things inside can be processed by yourself, and including some components inside. You think its style doesn't meet. If the slot can be used, basically there are many slots inside to compensate for these issues. But of course, if you feel it doesn't compensate enough, you can also override this component. It has a set customer. A node components related thing. For example, if you have a code block type thing, you can use the h function to reference the original code block or, covering some things. That is to say, you can completely operate many details through views h. Okay, we won't go into details. This video mainly informs everyone of some rendering tips. And, this component will perform much better than all the streaming rendering components on the market, including the display situation. Okay, welcome everyone to raise some issues, to feedback on some practical problems, okay? Lastly, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.